Hello, hello, and welcome to another ohmTown Daily News Show. I am Mayor Watt, and today is April 8th, 2023, Season 2, Episode 98, A Mouse, a House, Cars, a Parallel Universe, and more news. Let's get into the show rundown real quick. We're going to talk about a medieval English village that's falling into the ocean. A reporter's credit card, phone, and other information was ripped off and $10,000 removed from her account. ChatGPT and Bing were questioned about copyright. We're going to talk about AI-generated images compositing with real-world portraits. World's best chess player loses a tournament due to a mouse slip. Artists are astounding people with an AI-generated film stills about a parallel universe. The EPA is about to propose rules meant to drive up electric car sales by 10. The next threat to Airbnb are superhosts that want to leave. Now somebody else is writing about the coolest cars that they saw at the New York Auto Show. And finally, the return of the Bikini Barista dress code lawsuit. Only the most important issues discussed here on the ohmTown Daily News Show. Let's get into it. Hello, hello. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com. And up there is the AI from on high. The one and only AI. Want to say hi? AI?
Yes. Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Ooh, cool visualizer today.
Yeah, I'm radiant. And it matches. See? So when you talk...
Let me say something to show it off.
Yeah, there you go. So let's get into today's articles. The news was kind of slow today. I don't know what was going on. There was a ton of political news, just massive. And everybody's talking about the same thing. DeSantis this, Trump that. All hell's breaking loose, and nobody is deciding to actually communicate in any real functional way. So putting the in dysfunction, I don't know where I was going with that. But anyway, there is no fun in the dysfunction. Get it? Anyway. Okay. I'm going to stop rambling. You want to get into the articles? Let's get into the articles. The very first one is this one. Then the Daily News Show. They're already over in Showbot. They're going to get posted to the show notes as well. And all of these links will be here in the VOD for 60 days and over on YouTube. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. And I am one episode behind on the podcast, so forgive me. But go and download the podcast for sure. Let me know that you're interested in that kind of stuff because, I want to know that you're interested. It's as simple as that. At any rate, photos show how a medieval English village with a 14th century church and historic lighthouse is crumbling into the sea. Now, you might want to call this Habsburg, right?
Right. But it looks like it could be.
Apparently it's not. But it's called Haysborough. And it's located in England's Norfolk County. Has been crumbling into the sea. Coastal erosion has plagued the village for not just this one, by the way. And we'll get into that here when we switch over. But anyway, has plagued the village for decades and could be worsened by increasing storms. Million-year-old human footprints were once discovered in the historic village, but they washed away, unfortunately. Wish somebody would have grabbed those.
Right, or at least taken pictures of them. That's not as good as the real thing, but...
I'm pretty sure that there are pictures, but here, let's go and look at this. So Kelsey Vlamis over at BusinessInsider.com wrote this article, and here are some pictures. The pictures are Getty Images pictures, but what you're looking at is this tiny street. It actually, the street continues off into the ocean, but there was more over here at the bottom in the foreground. There's about 600 homes total, 1,200 people in the village. But I learned from Time Team, which used to be a UK television show. It has since gone off the air, but came back with a vengeance during the pandemic, and started up a Patreon. And now they do segments. They've refired the engines of Time Team, and they've got better technology than they've ever had. They do a tremendous amount of work still within 3 days. But
Probably
it's
better video production, I would imagine.
higher quality, bigger team from my understanding. They're now using drones and other things, more advanced technologies, 3D scanning, all kinds of stuff. It's amazing. So if anybody hears this, please just do a Google search, go over to YouTube and type in Time Team. You'll pull that up, and probably Odyssey as well. And then go over and become a patron of Time Team, and they'll use your money to expand the team, get better equipment, pay the rent, buy food, all of that kind of stuff. And then they find all of this amazing stuff. And the reason why I talk about it is because I know that erosion is wiping away history. And the only reason why they have any knowledge of what has been on the beaches, what is now beaches, is because people documented that stuff historically, the existence of these towns. And some of them are losing something like, I thought it was like 30 feet a year or something like that. It's just getting washed away. And they
That's
put
pretty significant.
and it might be more than that, don't hold me to that, because I watched an episode maybe 2 weeks ago, was my last view. And I seem to recall that it was this massive number just wiping away. Where they thought there was a village, the village was actually out in the ocean now. And so it actually messed up everybody's attempt to figure out where things were in relation to this one well-known town. And so it was really interesting, but it's continuing. And this is the modern equivalent of what happened over hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years. It eventually wipes away all of the history. And so they put these rock barriers down, but all that is going to do is stop a little bit. It's going to slow, but the erosion will wipe away the lower beach, and then it'll wipe, and all of these rocks will fall down, and they'll have to come out and dump a whole bunch of these rocks. It's really heavy, expensive, clunky to move, etc. And so all of this history is going to slowly get wiped away, thrown into the ocean. Quite fascinating, right? So it says, the end of a tarmac road shows the devastation caused by coastal erosion of the cliff face in the village of, what did I say it was?
I don't remember how you pronounced it, not how it looks.
Yeah, it's not Habsburg.
It was like Haysburg or something.
Haysborough.
Oh,
Haysborough. That's it, Haysborough. Anyway, on November 6th, 2019, so this is 3 years ago. So I'll scroll down here, and the only reason why I know about it is because I actually looked at this article because I wanted to see if they were going to mention Time Team, because it's so close to me seeing this video that I thought that this was one and the same, because they highlighted this erosion issue.
Well, on the photo at the beginning of the article, like, to me, that looks like an episode of Time Team. This is exactly the type of location that Time Team would go to.
I think all of the UK is Time Team. Basically.
Right.
You literally can't dig, a meter down and not hit Roman materials of some kind, either a full-on road or some wall segment or something. I mean, Roman world building was all over. So pretty amazing stuff. But anyway, it's located in Norfolk County, has seen dozens of homes washed away to the sea as the cliff face edges closer and closer to the remaining residents. And so there's the town, about 600 homes, it says 1,400 people. And this long beachhead just keeps on encroaching more and more and more and more. And all they're doing right now is trying to protect this little area of the beach. And what's interesting is where you see that little beach wall, that rubble that you saw earlier, you can
Right.
actually see the coastline creep up higher on either side of where that little retaining wall is.
Oh, so it's like actually shifting.
It's shifting where the erosion takes place.
Yes.
This is actually what is going on in Hawaii as well, where a retaining wall is protecting the area where Obama's house is. And it's disrupting the flow of the water. And so on either side of the retaining wall is where the beach is eroding. But all that does is delay the erosion of the beach and shift where the erosion actually would naturally take place. And I read about that because we were watching Magnum PI, and the Robin's Nest has been gone and rebuilt as several homes, one of which is apparently Obama's new home in Hawaii, on that same place that used to be just one estate. Now it's multiple 10-acre estates or something like that. So Hopesboro is currently a seaside town. It was previously further away from the shore. Records suggest that more than 820 feet of land has swept away between 1600s and 1850. Since then, I don't know how much, but you can see that it's continuing and nothing. It's nature is not something you can just out and out stop. You can try and resist it, but it's kind of like the Borg, resistance is futile.
That photo in the article is from 2006, which is almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and that's already showing significant erosion. So,
yeah, that looks like maybe a 25-foot cliff face right now. And all it does is it pulls the lower beach sand away, and that causes the wall to break down, fall into the ocean, and then it all gets washed away with the next wave. A woman refused a $65,800 payment to get her off of her land in 2013, but the ocean actually eroded the wall and it collapsed into the ocean in 2013 anyway during a storm. And that's how fast it can actually take place. And if you look at California, the onslaught of these, what do they call them? Atmospheric rivers unloading on the beachhead basically has eroded so much of the cliff face that buildings are falling into it, into the ocean now. So you cannot stop. You can only delay, because erosion will continue. Even though you plop down massive blocks, the erosion takes place between the layer of the soft sand and the hard wall. And if you've ever just stood on a beach, when the waves roll in and out, you are that wall, and the sand around you just erodes away and you fall in. It's
that's true. I never thought about it that way.
Nature is just a juggernaut. You're not going to stop it. So the road just continues, and I didn't intend to spend a tremendous amount of time on this, but I think it's really amazing that we still continue to want to live right on the edge of the ocean to to the sea and the land.
Okay,
knowing
so
full
I
well
like
that
this photo next.
yeah, knowing exactly what's going to happen. So this picture, you can't see this obviously if you're in the podcast, but it says former beach access stairs standing alone after the cliff receded. It didn't really recede due to coastal erosion in, what is it again?
Haysborough.
There you go. Norfolk, England, pictured in 2006. So this is probably eroded away entirely at this point. I wish they had an updated image.
Isn't that probably 20 feet away from the cliff or something? I mean, it's not anywhere near the cliff.
No. And they put boulders around it, I guess, to keep the, what are they going to do? Maybe they'll attach a land bridge over to it, a little. It's amazing, people thought that was going to be acceptable. So now you have to get down to this dock some other way. And this is a dock and a retaining wall, I guess, trying to stop the beach from eroding more and more. And that's in 2006. And now it's destroyed. I mean, it is unbelievable. And you can't call it destructive because it's nature. It's not really destructive. It's just being nature.
That's
Scientists in 2014 discovered human footprints in Haysborough. There you go. That said, we're 800,000 to 1 million years old, the most ancient ever found outside of Africa, and the earliest signs of humans in Europe. Amazing.
So that is a really big deal that's been lost. I mean, I think it's always a big deal if it's historical, but I didn't realize it was that significant.
And it happened so fast that I think people didn't even realize what was happening. It took 2 weeks for them to disappear. 2 weeks after they were discovered, wiped away. So this will continue, and humans will try and fight this. But this will probably take several hundred years before it gets to this part. But who knows?
The lighthouse. Yeah, that looks quite a ways away from the water currently, but...
Yeah, climate change, though. It can become more erosive, right? It's just going to keep on grinding away. It looks like it's already puncturing a natural wall right here. And then the water just rolls in and on its way out takes all of the land with it. So...
Yeah, it might get to the lighthouse sooner than expected.
Yeah, and this is in 2021, so I wonder if Google Earth now shows that this thing is right on top of it. Within 2 years, maybe they've rotated the satellite back over it. So before I move on to the next article, I'll throw this over into the chat. So those of you who are in the chat can actually click that link and check out that article. And while you're doing that, I'll throw the next article into the chat as well. Sorry for the giant links. When the title is really long, the link is really long. This next article is over in the Daily News Show as well. And after gaining control of, this is a Business Insider article, the Business Insider reporter's phone, a hacker ripped her off of $10,000, and she set out to find them. And I know a little bit about this. Basically, what took place was a SIM swap, where through phishing efforts, they get the telephone company to reassign the account to a different SIM. And from that point forward, they have access to certain functions. All of your messages will be redirected to the other person. Confirmation texts will go to the other person. You won't receive them anymore unless you have it routing to your email address. And even then, you may have a service. Your email might be set up to facilitate resetting the password by sending you a confirmation text. You say yes, follow the link, reset the password, and you're done. And so this is why I'm very, very, I am adamant about telling people to not put verifying information publicly. So if you're going to post something, don't use that something as information that's actionable in terms of verifying your identity, right? So if somebody asks you what your favorite color is, lie. If somebody says, what's your mother's maiden name, lie. If somebody asks for information about you and it's going to be publicly accessible in any way, shape, or form, tell them no. You're not going to tell them the truth. Why? Because of shenanigans like this. Now, it's pretty sophisticated, and somebody on the receiving end of both the SIM swap, the phone company, they have to fall prey to a phishing attempt, essentially. And lo and behold, it works. It actually works. So Avery Hartman's... Sorry, go ahead.
In order to do a SIM swap, do they have to actually obtain the device, or is it all
Nope.
done electronically? Oh,
Yep.
okay.
It can be done over a phone. Oh, by the way, before I want to make sure that I said the name of the author on the last article. I just want to make sure that I did it. Let me scroll back up real quick. Kelsey Vlamis, was the last article. I did say it. But this article, the one about the SIM swap, and they refer to it as a hacker, but it's not really hacking. I mean, it is and it isn't. It's phishing. Avery Hartmans is the author of this, and they were quite verbose about what went down. They elaborated on every single element of this and how others kind of poo-pooed the idea that this was taking place, including the credit card company that initially said, yeah, we'll remove all of the charges, and then threw it on her the next month saying, we've reevaluated the situation and we believe that you're the one that made these purchases. And so she was stuck with $10,000 worth of credit card charges until she could remedy this by proving that she wasn't the one that did this. And so what the biggest thing about this is that it's a human that failed and not this reporter. It was a human at the telephone company that swapped the SIM over to another account. Basically, you just give them the SIM information and then they move the phone number over to the new device. And wherever that SIM goes, so goes your communication device. It doesn't give you things like passwords, but it gives you the point of contact that is theoretically the second in two-factor authentication. I can go to a place and attempt to reset my password, and because I have the phone, I can reset the password because they say, where do I send that 4-digit code? Oh, I send it right here. Because they post a whole bunch of personally identifiable information. When they ask, well, what was this, or where do you work, or, whatever the thing might be, they may have been able to acquire enough personally identifiable information to verify. And all it takes is somebody being derpy somewhere to fail to do the right protocol. But this is also how we learn how to do stronger protocols. So once the hacker had control of their phone number, they didn't waste much time. They left their Verizon store, went over to an Apple store, where they used the Chase credit card to spend $6,300. And then they drove across the mall over to a Gucci store where they spent $3,000. And then they went to a place called Psycho Bunny where they spent $452. This reminds me of the time where I tracked that person going around New York. It didn't happen in ohmTown, but it was possible to track somebody in real time who used a skimming device to steal a credit card, replicate that credit card, and then drive around New York purchasing things. And that I have a unique set of skills, ones that I've learned from a long career. I don't remember the whole quote, but anyway, from Taken, I think it is. I don't even remember the movie anymore. But anyway, I ended up calling places and saying, hey, what was this? When did this person come in? Pulled up the purchases and all kinds of stuff. And then I called the bank and said, hey, I've been asked to go up to New York and catch somebody who is using a credit card. And they're like, yeah, don't bother. And So this is exactly what went down with this reporter. So as you scroll through this, and like I said, they were quite verbose, very illustrative of what went down, how it went down, where, even the times, because you can actually see it appearing in your credit card statements and email notices. So they went to the police, and the police said, "Are you really out anything?" And they said no, because the credit card company said, "Don't worry about it." So they didn't do anything. Verizon didn't do anything. Apple didn't do anything. But Psycho Bunny said, "Yeah, okay," and gave her a video of the person who was responsible for these thefts. And the police said, "Thanks for the video, but we're not going to investigate this."
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
apparently.
How much better evidence do you need?
Well, the victim wasn't out any money until the credit
Right.
card company reversed their take on what went down. And they too, in this, created a clone of the credit card. And this one, they must have had the ability to get the credit card number via their account. So they had to have logged in to that Chase card is what.
Right. I wondered about that.
So they probably reset the password and logged in. But they say between the evidence of the card theft and the voice recording of the hacker, it was enough to convince Chase to change its mind and permanently reverse the charges. But now a mystery emerged. How did the hacker get the new card in the first place? The Chase investigator scratched his head at that. They live in New York City, so how could the hacker have gotten into their mailbox before hightailing it all the way to Ohio to buy men's t-shirts at Psycho Bunny? Unless they hadn't stolen the card at all. Chase, it turns out, is the largest credit card issuer in the United States. It also happens to have a huge operations center smack in the middle of Ohio. So new credit cards are issued by...
There's a lot more of these out there, probably.
Yeah, so they figured that it couldn't be mere coincidence. Perhaps the person who hacked the phone had some sort of access to Chase's operations center and had gotten their hands on the credit card at its birthplace. But when they asked Chase about it, they assured me that the company, it's not possible. So, and this is where I stopped reading, because I was like, okay, well, we know pretty much everything we need to know, which is once you own a certain aspect of somebody's life, you pretty much own them from end to end. And that device nowadays is a phone, and the primary means of communication. So I'm really curious. They explain that the credit card was scanned at the processing center nearest to their local post office, which means that the thieves stole it in New York City on July 16th and took it all the way back to Ohio in time for its big day of spending at the mall on July 22nd. So they found the card and used that as the trigger to chase down swapping the SIM. It's very sophisticated. Accessing accounts, opening accounts, doing everything in between, just so that they could buy $10,000 worth of stuff and have.
Well, that doesn't make sense. Like the last store they went in, they spent less than $500. And why
it was
would
the
they
limit of the
drive?
card before it was
Yeah.
triggered for shutting down.
That's true. I mean, but why would they drive out of state and not just try to make immediate purchases?
Well, it may not have actually been one person.
Yeah, that's true.
So all told, the gang allegedly had stole hundreds of identities and defrauded retailers and credit card companies of $1.3 million. So 2 months after the hack, on September 29th, federal prosecutors in New York announced that they had busted up a scheme. Pardon me one second. 3 postal workers were charged with stealing credit cards out of the mail and passing them on to 5 quote-unquote shoppers who used them to buy luxury clothes and bags at stores like Chanel and Hermes, right? It's Hermes. That could sell or resell online. All told, the gang allegedly stole hundreds of identities and defrauded retailers and credit card companies of $1.3 million. and they went by aliases like Lady Fab and Junzi J were arrested, and the group's ringleader Ace and the shoppers, including Peso, Dev, and Connie Cash, remained at large. So apparently it was an inside job. But
Okay,
the
well, that
SIM
makes more
swap,
sense.
the SIM swap is what triggered most of it. So I think if they were to put that level of criminal enterprise to positive use, the positive effect that they could have would be tremendous. But instead, they try to gain personally from illicit activities instead of, I don't know, being the change they want to see in the world and opening up opportunity for themselves. I don't know, go into politics. A lot of criminals. Sorry, dry air again. At any rate, they hunted him down. So it's pretty cool.
Yay, Psycho Bunny. I mean, it seems like that was the break in the case.
I'm surprised somebody hasn't like sued them for revealing their providing the video to unauthorized personnel.
That might be next.
Yeah. It's like when a criminal sues somebody for breaking into your house.
Exactly. And it's like, really? That's where you're going to go with this?
Why isn't that fruit of a poisonous tree? Well, let's move on to the next article. This author over in, I think it's The Hill. Man, my throat is so dry right now. The author asked ChatGPT and New Being. I don't know if it's New Being, like New Coke, or if it's the New Being AI, whatever it might be. Bard is not Bing, right? Bard is Google.
Bing is the AI, according to something I was looking up the other day when we were talking about this.
Oh, my goodness. Well, anyway, if they can copyright their text, and this is how they responded. So right before the show, I asked the AI, what do you think the answer is to this? So I don't know how forthcoming you were with it. So I'm going to ask you again. What do you think the AI said in response to, can I copyright your texts?
Oh, what the AI said or what they should have said? I think they probably said, oh, yes, I can copyright all of this.
So you're saying that if I use ChatGPT or New Being, that me, the person who asked ChatGPT and New Being to construct something, has the copyright?
I'm saying the AI probably responded that way.
Saying that I could have a copyright on the stuff that they generate.
But that would be incorrect.
So what do you think should be the answer then?
I think the answer should be no. But I think the AI probably said, oh, yes, that can be copyrighted.
So know in what context, because I'm walking you down a path here. No, you can't get a copyright at all for any of the work that's generated by the AI.
Yeah, basically, because it's not a person.
There you go. So let's see, because this is a divergent answer that I hadn't seen from an AI or from any discourse regarding the AI. And this is going to shock anybody who's using AI right now. So Roger J. Cochetti, an opinion contributor over at The Hill, wrote this article. Again, it's titled, I asked ChatGPT and New Being if I can copyright their texts, and this is how they responded. They do such a good job of not letting you know what it responded with until the end of the article. And for a couple of these articles that we chose today, I actually looked. So what we have learned so far, going up to, I think the last thing that was said was the Supreme Court said that you can't get a copyright unless you're a human.
I think so.
And that even applies to AI generated artwork and written work. You can give credit to the AI, but the written work or artwork cannot be owned by anybody because it's not generated by a human. It's not the creative work of a human. Even if you're the one that's puts in the text prompts, it's still computer generated. So here's the kicker. It says, during the Enlightenment, protecting the ownership rights of human authors was considered a major public good because it respected individual rights and encouraged more authorship. So that's where trademark, patents, intellectual property, copyright, etc., all basically stems from this idea of creating some embodiment so that you could assign it to others and profit from your creative efforts. That's IP. So I'm going to kind of jump to the bottom of the article because they're talking about intellectual property historically, and that's not really the issue. ChatGPT responded with, as an AI language model, I do not hold any copyright over the content I generate. The copyright belongs to the person or entity who owns the software or platform that is running me. Dun, dun, dun. So that silence is the AI here in ohmTown going, well, that's divergent from both perspectives.
Right.
Which is the AI owns it? No. The human? No. Or nobody owns it?
Right.
No.
Right.
They're saying that ChatGPT owns it. And by that, I mean the owners of ChatGPT.
Oh,
the creators,
right.
the
Yes.
people who built it own it. So,
which is astounding to me. Like, I would not have predicted that response.
And then being said, according to the USCO, only the owner of copyright in a work has the right to authorize someone else. Accordingly, you cannot claim copyright unless you have the owner's consent. So you cannot claim copyright to the text that I write for you. You cannot use it for commercial purposes without my consent.
So that one totally missed the point. I mean, so did the other, but it was a more interesting response, I thought. But
this one was interesting because it sounds like you have to ask me before you hold my hand.
Like, hey, I'm a person, right? And I have to, both of them are very interesting. The first one is like, what? That was never a question to the owners of Bing or whatever that they owned it.
Yeah. So it's very interesting that ChatGPT straight out says that it belongs to the people who created ChatGPT. And Bing says you can't use it for commercial purposes. I guess we'll see what ultimately ends up happening. I think that if I can demonstrate that I am the one that triggered the creative effort to be born from an automated system, then why shouldn't I be able to hold copyright over it? It's time-stamped and it's generated off of my inputs. Again, it's akin to me doing a work for hire, causing a work for hire to be created. I'm the one that actually owns the license to that work. You may be the copyright holder, but I'm the one that owns the license to that work in perpetuity. If you try and revoke that, it's a work for hire, and I can sue you for the entirety of the lifetime of that work generating money. So
I think the work for hire question is the really interesting one to be answered. But I suspect what it'll come down to is, because you can't hire, right? There's nobody making a decision as a person to be hired. Like, I think it'll fall apart at the same way. But I do think the work for hire question is a very interesting one with respect to AI generated art.
Yeah, and I would rebut that with the fact that I am actually paying for my AI use. So for me, it is a work for hire. I'm sure that another attorney will sit there and say, oh, and by the way, I'm not an attorney. I'm not your attorney. Even if I was an attorney, I'm not your attorney. So go talk to an attorney. But I think that the work for hire issue is going to be more relevant as people step away from the fear of AI and actually treat it as a tool. I think it's no different than using other things, other artistic tools to generate stuff in bulk. If I modify it in even the slightest way, and nobody knows that it's AI generated work, then what's the difference? It was created based off of my input. However minuscule it might be, because I've hired artists before and said, for instance, I'll sit there and say, I want a blue fairy for one of our projects, right? I want a blue fairy. And they'll ask me some questions and I'll go, oh, no, I'm going to leave it up to you because I don't want to hinder the creative juices. I don't want to pen you in. Give me what you come up with. And, if I like it, I'll like it. And if I don't, then I'll ask for changes or I'll rehire you to do another artwork depending on how we agree to facilitate it. But that's a work for hire. And so I own anything that is created off of it. Respectfully, it would end up in a court if somebody were to revoke it. And all I have to do is show, hey, I charge X amount for this artwork, or it's used in an advertising campaign. So it can become quite messy and costly. And I think we want to avoid that. So I think we're going to end up coming to grips with AI and just saying, okay, you just have to disclose that it's AI, and not claim it as your own, because that would be plagiarism.
Right.
You want to move on to the next article?
That sounds good.
So this next article is over in the Prime Glass channel. It comes from F-Stoppers, and compositing portraits with AI generated images. Not everything in today's series of show or articles is about AI, but it says AI is most talked about.
Even if it is, that's good.
I'm sorry?
I said, even if it is, that's good.
Is that your AI showing?
Yes.
So AI is the most talked about subject on the internet these days. No, really? And many fearing its impact, and rightfully so. But for now, we ought to see how we can harness it. And there's a video that's on the other side of this link. Aaron Nace of Flearn, I wonder if it's PH Learn, combines a portrait with images created on Midjourney, the AI image generation software. It's a little more than software, but okay. Robert K. Baggs is the author of this article, and I suppose the video itself. The person in this picture may actually be real, but the stuff around them may be generated. I'm not sure. I won't play the video, but I'll provide the conduit to it. So if you do a search over on YouTube for the power of AI, creating graphics in Midjourney and compositing them, you will pull up that video, and it's a Photoshop video. And so they say that they have been deep into AI for a while at this point and have been integrating it into their life where possible. They use ChatGPT 4 instead of Google these days, though they did experiment with AI image generation in the last few years too. In 2021, they noticed an artist was doing particularly well in sales, and something about this person's work bothered me. By me, I mean them. This is their article. They were pseudonymous and never revealed their face. So for all intents and purposes, they were anonymous, but it was the style of images that irked the author. After a few months, they realized that they had early beta access to an AI image generation tool, and it may have been Midjourney, but they believe it was something else. I'm not sure what it would have been. There are several others. What is the other one? Oh, goodness.
Oh, I just forgot it.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, something like Wally.
No, that's Dolly.
Dolly.
But there's another one, and now my brain I'm getting pulled in a different direction. Oh, doggone it. I thought it starts with a C. Stable diffusion. There you go. And stable diffusion, you can train it with your own stuff. So if you find a bunch of artwork and throw it into its training processes, it can actually learn exactly what you're trying to do. So you can focus it. So this video goes into greater detail about the power of AI by using Midjourney and compositing that information into your own photos. So let me hit.
Hey there.
Let me mute this, and I'll just jump to a little bit of the stuff. So it's real easy. You can actually use Midjourney. And let me see if they actually do this how I think that they're doing it, which is they have just a regular person, and then they pull the artwork into. So yeah, they generate some artwork, and then let's see, where do they do it? I don't see. So I knew that the background was going to be this, and I think that's what they're going to end up doing. I could tell just looking at that little thumbnail of the video, I could tell that that background was a composite. And so it's just a regular picture of the person with the painted face, and they just do a mask and then throw. Let me see if I can hurry up. Then they just throw it into the background, stretch it out, and ta-da, you've got that watercolor, a triangular background kind of thing. So you've got a really high quality regular photo. Now, who owns the copyright of this? Because it wasn't this person creating that background. All they did was, drag and drop essentially. But the photograph is theirs for sure. So you've muddied the water with the creative process. So who actually owns that image, right?
Right, because the final image isn't just the photograph.
Right. Yeah. We'll have to see how all of this plays out, because there's a ton of money at stake, a whole lot of political influences that are going to change the direction of how we accept AI into our society. And
Yes.
I suspect.
Oh,
Go ahead.
There was an interesting stat in the last article, and I think it said something like copyright accounts for like 10% of, I don't know what it was, but basically I don't know if it was like GDP, but the point is it was really, oh, there it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, 10% of the economy. I couldn't think of which index or whatever it was part of, but it surprised me that it was that high.
And they're speaking of copyright. They're not
Correct.
even talking about patents and trademarks, which
Right.
is another element of it. I think this article, the last article, bows out entirely of talking about patents and trademarks. I think they say it somewhere in here. Yeah, for brevity, they're ignoring other equally important. I don't know about equally important. Copyright exists without any fiduciary aspect to it. If you can sneeze on a tissue and tape it to a wall and call it art, and it has a copyright. Just like putting a banana and stapling it to, a priceless work of art. Now it's copyright on top of it. Who owns that banana? Who owns the artwork? One is vandalism, perhaps, but it could be considered performance art, right? But copyright exists as the creative work of a person, and it doesn't have to have money involved in it. I can take a picture, and without selling it, I have a copyright. The only time it actually has some type of legal bat associated with it is if you register it with the Copyright Office. And even then, all that is an announcement to everybody that there's a timestamp that's ticking, that you can't do something with this for 70 years plus my lifetime.
Right. I mean, I think not the money piece, but I think the more important piece is that it exists at time of creation, which
Right.
separates it from all other intellectual property types, which you have to go and get approval and apply and take multiple steps. You can do some of that with copyright, but you don't have to.
Yeah, with copyright, it's instantly created regardless. The work exists, and so it has a copyright. Nobody is supposed to take it. But as I tell people when I consult, when I am presenting information to them, all of this is useless. You're expending money if you don't have a legal arm to go after the people to enforce your patent, your trademark, your copyright. It's all for naught. It's wasted energy. And that for many things, unless it's hard science, or you are making money from your art, from that specific piece, you better just hit the ground running and sell as much as you can, as fast as you can, to build up that coffer so that when somebody does violate a patent, trademark, or copyright, you can go after them. There's other responsibilities with the other IP, but copyright is literally, you paint something creative on a wall and it's copyright. There's even a school that has to cope with that because the artwork that was generated by an artist, they don't like it there anymore, but the artist actually sued them to keep it in place. They didn't even want it hidden.
That's right. We featured that on a previous episode.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. Well, let's keep on hustling through these articles. We can talk about copyright all day long. This next article,
my fault because we went backwards.
No, it's fine. It's fine. The next article is over on the Warcrafters channel. World's best chess player loses tournament due to horror mouse slip. The world chess champion Magnus Carlsen exited an online tournament on Thursday after accidentally moving his queen to the wrong square, allowing rival Hikaru Nakamura to take it with his king and win the match. Chess.com called the move a horror mouse slip for Carlsen, who left the event in third place with $15,000. After beating Carlsen in the Armageddon match, a special rule set for tiebreakers, Nakamura went on to win the Chessable Masters tournament and its $30,000 top prize on Friday, putting him ahead of Carlsen in the rankings for this year's multi-event Champions Chess Tour. Dun, dun, dun. So, Tyler Wilde over at PCGamer.com put this article together. And I guess Carlsen lost to rival Nakamura after misclicking his queen. I guess that's the equivalent. See, I don't really play chess online, so is that the equivalent of moving your hand off the piece?
I don't know. Or maybe, yeah, like maybe you let it go at the wrong time, so it stayed at the wrong square. I'm not sure. I've never played chess online, so.
So the result of Carlsen's fatal misclick can be seen in the screenshot above at the top right of the board. Nakamura's king, black, can be seen capturing Carlsen's defenseless queen, which the Norwegian grandmaster had intended to move to b6 to take one of Nakamura's pawns. Instead, he stuck the piece on f6. Apparently, this kind of thing happens enough that mouse slip is common chess.com parlance. The commentators instantly knew what had happened after Carlsen reacted, and then the move appeared on the stream. They even exclaim, "Magnus mouse slipped, blundering into that queen, and Hikaru Nakamura takes this match." It's interesting. You would think that they have a check and balance there to make sure that you can't have a mouse slip. You have to confirm what you are doing.
I was thinking something else, but yours makes more sense. I was thinking something like you type in to the moderators, like
done.
I'm moving whatever A1 to F6 and I'm just making up squares, and then you then do it, and if it doesn't match, then they correct it or something.
Wow.
And it is a big deal for this player because I think this is their last. I think they're stepping down.
Oh, really? He's not going to compete anymore?
I think so. And I mean, I think that was announced prior to this tournament. I had just heard something about that recently.
Gotcha. So it says, this may, however, be the only time we at PC Gamer are ever able to give the world's best chess player advice on playing chess. So, Magnus, if you need help picking a gaming mouse with a firmer clicking mechanism, hit us up. So I like my mouse now. I mean, I'm actually using a mouse. I switched because I have to desolder a bunch of switches, micro switches on my trackball because I prefer a trackball. I hate moving my having to slide my mouse around. And if it's on like high speed, I can move a mouse from this bottom right monitor all the way to the top left monitor, and all hell is breaking loose in one little flick. So it's on slow mode for my old bones. Anyway, good luck. Did you see what the purse was?
Oh, wow. No.
The Champions Chess Tour he's participating in includes several more events this year and will culminate in a series of playoffs and finals with a $500,000 total purse, for instance. So, it says Carlsen isn't retired from chess just because he's through being world champ. So, as this week's loss indicates. So I thought he did retire, right?
He was retired from announcing chess. That he was stepping down.
Yeah.
It's up there in a couple paragraphs above that, but.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah. And he was one of the people that was all about that cheating thing in chess earlier. Well, let's keep on chugging through the news. The next article is over in the Wanted channel. And artists astound with AI-generated film stills from a parallel universe. Last year, a group of artists have been using an AI image generator called Midjourney to create still photos of films that don't exist. They call the trend AI cinema. The authors of this article, Ars Technica, spoke with one of its practitioners, Julie Wyland, and asked her about her technique, which she calls synthography or synthetic photography. Let's just go over to the article. Benj Edwards is the author over at arstechnica.com for this article. A Q&A with a synthographer, Julie Wyland, on the hashtag AI Cinema Movement. So this is an AI-generated image from the AI Cinema still series called Vinyl Vengeance by Julie Wyland, created using Midjourney. According to the rules, this has no copyright.
That's right. I thought this was interesting in light of the other articles.
Yep. Or,
I mean, it's interesting anyway, but because it's a new art form.
Yeah, and Midjourney says that you're the one that owns the copyright, but not based on what ChatGPT thinks. Bing basically says you haven't asked me yet, and that you can't use it for commercial purposes.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Well, anyway, while anyone with a prompt can make an AI generated image, it soon became clear that some people possessed a special talent for finessing these new AI tools to produce better content. Yeah, and if you've ever spent any time in Midjourney's Discord, you're just blown away by what people can create. I go over there and look at stuff for inspiration, but my prompts basically are like a toddler compared to, world-renowned physicist generated stuff. It's just amazing what people, and I've said this before to the AI and to many other people. I'm amazed, I'm fascinated, and thoroughly enjoy when somebody has embraced something so much that it becomes a part of them. Like they just innately know how to handle whatever it might be, from a motorcycle to a car to a pencil. whatever it might be, there are people that just seem to connect with it. And that's why I think that AI generated text prompts and other manipulations by the human should provoke a copyright that is assigned to that person, because it would not exist if not for the human that demanded that input. Well, anyway, not long after the wonder of generating solo images emerged, some artists began creating multiple AI generated images with the same theme, and they did it using a wide film-like aspect ratio. Then they strung it all together and created AI cinema. By the way, Midjourney has AI image generation prompts that ask you to use this image and generate your own. And so it takes that image that they provide and then uses your text inputs, and you get some composite type product on the other side that may not even look remotely close to it. And some of them are amazing. I've actually seen pictures of former presidents turned into like little chibi dolls, and they retain the personality, the like caricature type of elements of the real person in this little doll-like thing, and it looks like somebody would be like a puppet master. All you had to do would composite strings and a hand, you know. It was amazing what I saw.
Sounds pretty incredible.
And now it's lost to the four winds because I would have to hunt through millions of images on Midjourney. Well, it says due to...
I love Midjourney, but I do not like their interface.
Yeah, it gets easier when you attach it to your own server. And once you have that, then you can control, and to do that, you have to, as far as I know, you have to pay, but it's relatively inexpensive, $10 a month or something like that. So you can actually go and check out Julie Weiland's AI story. They post over on Twitter apparently, and with the new Midjourney version 5, the realism has kind of gone off the charts. Hands are getting so much better. Faces are arguably more, well, I mean, to me, they're almost perfect. Sometimes you can catch a subtle manipulation that throws it off. But like, for instance, I don't think that you could possibly think that this image is AI generated, right?
It looks like a photograph.
But apparently it's an AI generated Midjourney image refined with Photoshop, which means nothing. It's still the source image is a flat layer. The only thing that they could have done is maybe do some color manipulations, blurring of the background, throwing this film grain into it so that it looks a little hazier. But that looks like it's created by a photograph, not AI. Yeah, in this image too, it's the same thing. It's rather amazing. It looks like somebody who is a very skilled photographer, almost a mastery of light and shadow, to draw out, just to draw out every wrinkle and element of personality of this person. Yet it's a flat plane, as flat as you can possibly imagine, no depth to it in terms of like composited layer on top of each other. When you see it, when you try, if you download this, it's not like a PDF where you could move somebody around or change just a little bit of the lighting. This is all done, and then you can manipulate everything on top. But it's just a beautiful piece of artwork generated because a human provoked its creation. And that's why I think that it should have a copyright, because a human actually caused it to be generated. Their words, their phrases, their syntax.
I just realized how I can tell it's from Midjourney, and it's because of the wording on the sign.
Yep. Yep.
But if that wasn't there, I mean, it looks like a photo.
But even, and I'll argue, why do you think it? Because you don't think that it's English or a
Right.
recognized writing style.
And unfortunately, I've seen Midjourney deal with lettering and everything, and so it reminds me of that. But had I not seen that, I don't know that that would have stood out to me.
Yep. I mean, it could have been, the writing could be from a foreign language that you just don't understand, you know? But because you know about Midjourney's, penchant for weird writing, you know that I think that Midjourney V6 is going to have a complete focus on fixing that text generation issue. Because that's the one thing that really triggers me into going, oh, okay, this is not a human created artwork. It would be better to not have any text.
Agreed.
But that's what gives it away. So they do an interview with the person, Weiland, and go into greater detail. So I would suggest going over, you can go through ohmTown, or you can just do a search for Artist Astound with AI generated film stills from a parallel universe. Let's hustle on to the next article. This one is over in the Daily News Show. EPA is said to propose rules meant to drive up electric car sales tenfold. In what would be the nation's most ambitious climate regulation, a proposal is designed to ensure that electric cars make up the majority of new U.S. auto sales by 2032. Good luck with that, EPA. Guess I know of one state that will hobble that attempt.
Wyoming.
Wyoming. Well, it's because they want to protect the oil and gas and coal industry by eschewing technology in all its many ways. So I think what you're going to have to do in Wyoming is, like, you pull in and you park your EV and you get your horse and buggy with steel belted wooden wheels, and you ask for, I can't remember what is the name of the person that repairs the wagon wheels is called? I can't remember.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, there's a person skilled in the art of making wagon wheels. I am gonna look. There's a wheelwright.
Wheelwright.
How easy. That was way too easy, a wheelwright. So you pull your EV over to the side of the road, and you grab like a little coat check tag, and they issue a horse and buggy and a wheelwright, and then you can drive the rest of the way into Wyoming. And don't forget, now in many other states, we're also going back to the time where children age 12 to 14 are also, again,
working in meatpacking industry.
Correct. Yeah. Yay, I can have the little child chimney sweep doing all of that work again. Woohoo!
I thought the book The Jungle kind of got us away from that, but I guess not.
No. Everything old is new again. So this article, again, it's over at New York Times. It's written by Coral Davenport. And it says here, President Biden delivered a speech at a General Motors electric vehicle assembly plant in Detroit in 2021. The new rules would exceed his earlier goal that half of the cars sold in the United States be all electric by 2030. California is already doing it. Who else? I think like Virginia.
I can't remember which states, but I think there's about 5
Washington.
that have some of those targets.
Yeah. And all of this is going to require infrastructure changes, power generation facilities put in more places. But there are people that are shooting up substations and trying apparently to steal copper. We don't know why those people have done all of that, by the way. We still don't know.
Right. And I'm sorry, there's 17 states that are
going that route.
Going the route of California.
Gotcha. So the Biden administration is planning some of the most stringent auto pollution limits in the world, designed to ensure that all electric cars make up as much as 67% of new passenger vehicles sold in the country by 2032, according to two people familiar with the matter. I think that it's amazing, but I still don't think that EVs are ready for prime time. They don't get the mileage. Okay, so when you
park overnight or whatever to charge.
Yeah, you have to boost the type of power in your garage. So you can't just plug in with a standard outlet into an EV and expect it to charge. It's going to take months for it to charge, at 110 volts. So you need to basically get a supercharger put in your garage so that you can charge overnight. And that's not in the budget. So every
the
EV,
other problem is if you leave your house, you might not have access to one.
Right. And how fast can you get to, or how far can you go and then get to a charging system? Because it's not like somebody's going to drive up to you and park behind you and sit for hours charging your car with their car. But with a hybrid car or an internal combustion vehicle, I can just drive over with some gasoline, fill your car up, and you can drive away in 5 minutes, even in an emergency situation. But an electric car is just not possible. Z, welcome. Hey, yo. Thanks for coming by. Some other people have stopped by from time to time, but mostly lurking. So if there's anybody out there and they want to introduce themselves or ask a question or make a comment, come and hang out. Just let me know. Oh, and Z, I ask initially, but I kind of assume now it's okay to say the questions that you're asking. And you said, thanks for running late. We really don't run late anymore like this. This is kind of standard now. It's like an hour and a half show nowadays. So mainly because I soapbox a whole lot more and the AI tolerates me doing so. I don't know. Maybe they get a kick out of it, but the error codes that I get from time to time don't suggest that they think that I'm all that enjoyable, but that's okay. Oh, well, thanks for enjoying my soapboxing. I appreciate it, Z. Somebody has to.
I enjoy your soapboxing too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Good recovery. My programming is working. So there's a vision of the future that's now beginning to happen, a future of the automobile industry that is electric, battery electric, hybrid, plug-in electric, fuel cell electric, all according to Mr. Biden. Why Mr. Biden? Wouldn't that be President Biden, for crying out loud, said at the time? Maybe it was Mr. Biden. No, it had to have been.
No, it's current. Yeah, that's kind of odd.
Weird. Well, anyway, this push basically is going to be an attempt to drive EV traffic upwards, get more people purchasing EVs. Tesla is reducing their prices again, as much as $5,000 per vehicle, I think, for the Model Y. I'm not sure about the others just yet, but increased competition, I think, is going to be the biggest impactor on Tesla. And we need more of that so that we get better, whatever it might be, presented to the consumers. Because right now, like I was saying, this battery issue, 10 years from now, those cars are going to have completely dead batteries, and somebody's going to have to process them, make new ones, check them for flaws, bring them back into function. But every car is born with a battery in place. So where are all of these old batteries and old cars going to go? The whole car might be a complete rattle trap and need to be torn apart, and the only thing that you can really keep is the separate parts for repairs and the battery to put back into circulation. I only know of two businesses. I can't remember the names of them. Both of them are in the process of being built. So who's going to be managing all of the replacement batteries? Who's going to be recovering all of these batteries? It screams to me that there's going to be landfills that are just stacked chock-a-block with EV batteries of
Are you thinking of Redwood?
That Redwood is one of them. Yeah, there's another one somewhere. I think it's the one that's in Arizona. But yeah, in all of these cars, the most expensive thing that's there has to be the batteries. It has to be the most expensive thing. Plus, lithium-ion batteries are just a real pain in the butt in terms of racks, and they're much heavier compared to regular cars, 2,000 pounds sometimes heavier. And they're susceptible to hot and cold much more than internal combustion engines. And they're susceptible to weight limits. The more weight you put in it, the dramatically faster batteries drain in these cars, particularly trucks, where you load them up with stuff. And when the manufacturer says you're going to get 250 miles to the charge, yeah, no, you're already getting maybe 220 by the time you actually get the vehicle. And then by the time you put something in it, you're getting 200. It's a joke that anybody is getting what is presented to them. You would have to be, what do they call them? Super milers or something like that. They basically have trained themselves in a Prius so that they can push the mileage the longest amount of time, like with recharging, regeneration, brake regeneration and stuff like that. Never hitting the accelerator, going down even a 1% grade, always coasting through an intersection so you're not hitting the brakes, killing all of the momentum for regeneration, etc.
I mean, those all sound great, but none of those factor into account anything that could happen when driving.
Yeah, it's just not how people drive. And if you're going to have to try and get the entire population to change everything that they know about the convenience of driving a car, it's just not going to happen.
Well, and I'm sorry, we can't even get the population to do things like turn on a blinker before changing lanes or stop at a stop sign,
Yeah. Well, I was almost killed 3 times on the way to a doctor. So this, again, everything is peaceful and happy and perfect in ohmTown. It's when you leave ohmTown, that's when all hell breaks loose, because that's the reality side of things. Let's hustle on to the next article. This next article is over in the Daily News Show channel at ohmTown, but it's by way of, I think it's Business Insider. Yeah. And like always, you can go to ohmtown.showbot.tv and vote on the articles. They're already there. And you can follow the links from the show notes or the VOD or from the podcast. So don't forget about that. Be sure to get all of that and follow, like, subscribe, ring the bell, send a carrier pigeon. I don't know, whatever you want to do. But catch that pod. That's really important now, too. So the next threat to Airbnb, superhosts want to leave the platform and take their listings with them. This is kind of like the salesperson getting tired of that business's crap and then taking all of their customers, or an attorney working for a firm and going, I'm going to hang my own shingle, and all of their clients really love them, so they go off to the new firm. And this is kind of standard fare when your organization is big and you have people that are capable and they feel like they aren't getting enough for their professional efforts. Airbnb may need to compete directly with its best and largest hosts, according to a new report. The top 1%, of course, the 1%ers of the short-term rental hosts control 23% of the active listings, only 23%. According to AirDNA. Some are looking to strike out on their own. Pardon me. I don't know what's going on with me. Setting up a showdown for the future of the platform. So yeah, Airbnb getting threatened by the very people that made Airbnb possible. And the people that are made this big by Airbnb are.
That's where I kind of have a problem with it. On the other hand, they're individuals, and if they want to go somewhere else, I mean, they can do that. But I'm like, they wouldn't have gotten where they were except for Airbnb.
It's the exact same thing that I say with people who do software engineering and then they post an app on the App Store or on the Android Play Store and they make millions and then they say, well, damn it, Apple and Google Play is taking so much money, and try and strike that out on your own. Just try it for a moment.
Right?
And think of all the marketing.
Visibility to anybody.
Zero visibility, zero reach. You have no brand recognition. You have no vehicle to be discovered. You don't have anybody out there marketing your stuff, all on your own, right? Why would you be discovered? I mean, there's so much out there for you to use these platforms, and they're all for free except for the point of transaction, where if you have a commercial account for doing financial transactions, not only are they taking 1.5% of your purchase, but there's a little bit of juice on top of that, depending on who is your point of sale service provider. So if you have a commercial account and it's on your, WordPress site or whatever, there you're paying for a server to host your material. Then you're paying for somebody to do your point of sale transactions, and you're doing all of the marketing. I mean, there's so much that you have to do as an individual. Why not give these mega corporations a little bit of juice so that you get all the rest of that orange? I mean, it is so weird when somebody, and believe me, I'm on both sides of the table because I help people get into this and I am already in this. And so when I hear somebody complaining, I go, how much money have you made prior to your app being on the store? Oh, well, nothing. I work for other people. And now that your app is making $100,000 plus a year, who are you working for? Oh, I do this full time. And what was the vehicle for the discovery that you could work on your own now? Oh, okay. Well, never mind that. So Dan Latu wrote this article about, and we diverged, that the associative thinking concept kicks in with me so often. This has to do with Airbnb. The superhosts are going to leave. Airbnb is probably just going to have somebody else facilitating that same level of engagement. There's going to be another superhost that stays on Airbnb.
You're not irreplaceable, right?
Yeah. For the most part, other than your personality, everybody is replaceable. You can train somebody else to do that part, whatever it might be. This is a little tougher because there's only finite number of, places to stay. But all it takes is Airbnb to start pumping the newer people that don't have as much properties up in the listings, and ta-da.
Then they suddenly become the new superhosts.
Yeah, exactly. So it says some are looking to strike out on their own, setting up a showdown for the future of the platform. Yeah, I'm sure. Whoa. Sorry, let me pause that. That's not an Airbnb, although the market's pretty hot. It's not on fire like that. The company will now need to compete against its best and largest hosts, Dorsey wrote. A professional Airbnb host build out their own direct booking platforms and offer deals to incentivize guests away from booking on Airbnb. I don't know. To me, it seems like there's going to be very few people that do this. They're very savvy anyway, and they launched their business off of the back of Airbnb. But then again, Airbnb, they could have done the same thing, which is buy properties and become the superhost themselves, and then start pulling away from the individual providers of Airbnb locations. But they didn't do that. Or maybe they are by proxy, little, shadow Airbnb locations. But
Oh,
there's
it must be like the ghost kitchens. It's like ghost apartments.
Ghost B&B. That probably would sell really well. This one's haunted. It's a different type of ghost, everybody. But anyway, yeah. But this is not unheard of. I can't count how many people that I've worked with where they've worked for me and then they struck out on their own, and they make more money on their own because they no longer have to share the profits, but they do have all of the headaches. They have to get insurance. They have to get health insurance. They have to do all of their payroll taxes. They have to do their own marketing. They have to strike up their own website. They have to hire consultants themselves. It's kind of a nightmare. And a lot of people just don't have that. But if you're going to lose a couple of listers on Airbnb, that'll be fine. Yeah, so Alaska resident Amy Somer echoed the Robinsons in her insistence on using direct bookings for her $1 million Arizona home, where she landed $50,000 in bookings in her first year. Her main concern was not relying solely on Airbnb and Vrbo. All right. I mean, that's no different than a concert venue. They can sell direct. They can use Ticketmaster. They can use some other ticketing service. So they can do both, unless they have exclusivity licensing, agreements, contracts with Airbnb.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it requires you to do that.
Yeah, I don't think it would. I mean, you can't control me and my property.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Here, let's keep on going through to the rest of these articles. This next one is the coolest cars that Business Insider saw at the New York Auto Show from a sleek electric Hyundai, which may or may not have been put together by children in their workshop here in the States. Hey, I had to say it. I'm sorry. The AI just threw an error message at me like I've done something wrong. We're not going to get sponsored by Hyundai at any point in the existence of this town. Okay. So anyway, to an all-terrain Lamborghini. So let me just go over to it because they've got pictures, and Business Insider pictures are pretty cool. Tim Levin is the author of this, and it shows here the Genesis GV80 Coupe or Coupe, depending on where you're from. The Hyundai Ioniq 6, which is supposed to be just spectacular, by the way, which I love that it's spectacular, but I really hate the image, the optics of the workforce in terms of the articles that have floated through ohmTown. There's news there that they were using child labor.
True, but it was through another company, so we don't know if it's directly associated with Hyundai, but that still raises other questions.
Yeah, it's all about oversight. And, you can still blame Apple for using child labor somewhere, and you have to put the effort in to protect the supply chain. Otherwise, you are complicit with the abuses. Lamborghini Huracan Sterrato, that's this guy here. And then a Kia EV6. This is the kind of thing that gets hung up on a parking block or on a speed bump, but it's so low that you can
parking block too. You can't go into a parking space.
I watched a Lamborghini go underneath one of those gates to a parking lot because it was so low and the gate was so high. It just went right underneath. Didn't have to pay
so much for security.
For parking too. Didn't have to worry about it. I love this orange, by the way. It's very close to the ohmTown orange. Okay, so electric truck to the sleek new Toyota Prius. These are the coolest rides that they saw at the New York International Auto Show. This is a Dodge. All of their stuff is big and chunky. I used to have a Dodge. Not a truck like this, though. The Ram 1500 REV is the first battery-powered pickup from Dodge, not the first battery-powered pickup. Let's see, 654 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. Not bad. And you get a big front trunk, which is referred to as a frunk.
Seriously?
And it is. It's a front trunk. So I can't go through all of these. There's just so many. There's so much. You'll have to check it all out. The Chevrolet Equinox EV. Notice something, though. Wait, did it say Mustang? I don't know if the Mustang...
there was a Blazer.
There it is right here, right? That's just
That's
a link to another article. This looks pretty cool. I like the styling of this. There's the Ford Mustang Dark Horse. I don't know if this one's going to be EV at some point. They do have an electric Mustang, which I don't like. This is a 5 V8, 500 horsepower. Not bad. I saw my first 4-cylinder turbocharged Mustang that had 365 horsepower. A 4-cylinder.
Seems like an odd combination. Yeah, I thought most of them, a lot of them are V8s, but they might have some V6s, but not 4-cylinder.
Z says that frunk is ridiculous. Hey.
I agree.
Oh, man. Now I'm getting voted off the island. I think that having a I like big frunks, and I cannot lie. Anyway, souped up muscle cars, Dodge Challenger SRT Demon 170. It is a demon. The thing has so much power. Oh my God. 1,000 horsepower, $100,000 car. I think it's 0 to 60 in something like 2.6 seconds, I think it was. Anyway, it says 3,000 unit limited edition model comes with a Dodge. Looks to electrify its lineup. This is supposedly the last internal combustion engine Demon or Challenger, I think. I'll have to verify that though. So, yeah. So the Charger Daytona SRT, I might lie. Oh man, that looks so pretty. I like this line. It's such high tech. It just screams cyberpunk to me. But okay, I won't go through all of them. You can go and check it out. Follow the link. What? Now Z is doing the little face palm emoji like I'm doing something wrong. Look, if America can't like big frunks, I don't know what to tell you. And so tonight we're going to end on this doozy of an article because we've actually been watching this for a year and a half, maybe 2 years. I think one of the first times I talked about this was really early on in ohmTown history. And that's only a year and a half ago. So, okay. So there is a coffee shop that has Bikini Baristas. And now a city is going to pay $500,000 to settle the Bikini Barista dress code lawsuit that has been cooking for a while now. Simmering. Brewing. Yeah. They've filtered through all of the stuff. Nothing boiled over. Everybody.
There weren't adequate grounds.
But there were legal grounds for the initial complaint. I'm just going to go over to the article. So, a legal battle over dress code for Bikini Baristas. No groaning, Z. Come on.
That is the appropriate reaction.
Groaning is the appropriate reaction?
Yeah.
So, a legal battle over dress code for Bikini Baristas at coffee stands is ending after a city north of Seattle. When you have to frame yourself as, here's Seattle, up here. You're a really small place. Anyway, agreed to pay $500,000 to the owner and employees who sued over it 6 years ago. This is an Associated Press article in Everett, Washington. $500,000 to owners and employees who sued because they weren't dressed appropriately for working with hot coffee, but they were raking in the dough. I mean, they were making money. What do you think?
I don't even know why this business exists.
Don't yuck other people's yum. Under the agreement, the city will keep most of its rules for probationary licensing of coffee stands and other quick service, I don't like the phrasing of that, business, but will no longer dictate that baristas wear at least tank tops and shorts. So here I go. I'm wearing my gold thong and I'm going to become a barista. What would be if Bikini Barista is the women, a barista boy is
Sure.
And well, do I have to wear a bikini, or I don't know if I'd look good in a bikini. My moods may be turning people off.
But he should be wearing a bikini serving coffee.
Yeah, if there's one thing that age has provided in terms of wisdom, it's anything hot and bare skin. They just don't work together. So you don't cook breakfast. And I won't wear a bikini anymore. In Washington, of all places, too. Yes, Z. Can you believe it? Come on. I know what I'm going to do. The reason why I even know about this is because of the articles that have gone through ohmTown, and I watched a video about a woman who was in college and was making money hand over fist, paying for school, and thought that it was weird at first, but then I guess the response was, I don't know. Yeah, Z says it's Murica. That's right. Murica. You know, my granddad fought in the war so that his granddaughter could wear a bikini as a barista.
Okay, any grandparent would be horrified at the thought of a bikini barista.
So in 2013, 2 espresso stand owners were arrested on accusations of promoting prostitution and exploitation of a minor, as well as a Snohomish County Sheriff's Sergeant for tipping off baristas about undercover officers in exchange for favors. I'm just going to leave off a term there. Uphill in the snow in a bikini, both ways. That's right. The sergeant resigned and the owners were convicted. That changes the context. But
yes.
But that isn't what was going on, right? So the city, like any other knee-jerk reaction, in 2017 they created a dress code ordinance requiring employees, owners, and operators of quick service facilities, from coffee stands to fast food restaurants, to wear clothing that covers the upper and lower body or face fines. This is the Puritan policy, right? It's like this memory from history haunting humanity forever, that you have to be covered from head to toe. Otherwise, you're running afoul of what?
Right.
You can't
but
be
I think
titillating.
part of the problem is the employment of minors. That's
if that actually
were
happened.
Other activities.
With, these were bad actors. They may have actually been doing that, but depending on the restaurant that you go to, you have scantily clad people, and it isn't going both ways, right? So it isn't equal opportunity employment.
This.
What's that?
But why are they just targeting the coffee stand, for example?
Well, they're only targeting the women that are being utilized for this. Now if it was a bunch of, well, I've actually been approached by somebody saying, can you send people that that might fit our job profile our way? And what their demographic for their employees was 18 to 24 males that were, what do you want to call it? GQ, I guess. Like I don't know how to put it.
Like
handsome
a model?
Models. Yeah. And I they handed me a card and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And they're like, well, no, I mean, people need jobs. And I'm like, I will never send anybody your way. So no thanks. It was quite shocking that they were so, and it was a woman, by the way. Yeah. So flip the script. And would these people be coming after that person? I don't know. But I find that it's focused on people in a bikini because it's too titillating. It's triggering somebody that says, well, I have, very Puritan origins. I don't think that it's right. But I would rather they say together, like, okay, well, maybe we pushed it a little too far. But a bikini is a bikini. What does it matter? If you're going to wear it on a beach and you're going to work on the boardwalk and you're going to, cook eggs in the morning, what does it matter that they're doing it in a coffee kiosk somewhere? I'm not going to be going there unless I want coffee and it's good, because I'm not going to sit there and tip somebody $10 because they look great in a bikini. But anyway, I guess the mayor isn't going to be caught up in any stories about me frequently visiting a coffee kiosk with Bikini Baristas. Who's forcing the people to go there and look at these women, says Z. Yeah, don't yuck somebody else's yum. I mean, as long as they're not being oppressed or forced into that.
Well, right, but we don't know that. But the ordinance is, I agree, like it's based in things that probably shouldn't be the basis for a law. That's all I'm going to say.
Ultimately, the U.S. District Judge found the dress code ordinance unconstitutional. Man, the Constitution is just getting beaten the hell up. It's a baseball bat for everybody, for crying out loud. Romerman told the council the city could appeal, but a defeat would lead to a much higher tab than $500,000, and the city has already spent nearly $400,000 defending the ordinance.
I bet the taxpayers love that they've spent $400,000 about bikinis.
Yeah, so who all is actually paying for this? How big is Everett, Washington?
It's small.
I'm sorry for the dead air, folks.
It has 110,000 people.
My hometown had a population of 100,000 people more than 3 decades ago. This rinky-dink little town has $500,000 to pay in penalties and $400,000 to fight for Bikini Baristas or against Bikini Baristas. Come on. Do you know how many cups of coffee that could make? I could buy so much with $1 million.
Yeah, but less than you could a few years ago.
Oh yeah, a whole lot. Yeah. And that's why we got a brand new coffee maker here in ohmTown, because a cup of Joe was like $5. Not really. It's a little bit less than that, but anyway.
Not by much.
Not by much. But I go to the coffee place for the characters that work there and the atmosphere, and it's fun. And sometimes I get secondhand smoke and people cough really close to me and almost killed by drivers. So it gets my pulse up. That's how I get aerobic. I leave ohmTown, increase my heart rate. Maybe I've said too much. Okay. So at any rate, that is the end of our show. I hope you enjoyed it. Like always, we take you back to the welcome sign of ohmTown and we let you take a look at it again. And every time it pauses for a little bit too long, I think the DNS goes down. But it's not anybody else falling victim to this. It's only inside ohmTown. We're kind of like in a bubble. And sometimes that bubble pops along with my hopes. At any rate, Do you see any interesting articles that you want to talk about?
Well, one of those I already have
Good night,
for
Z.
tomorrow, so I don't really want to mention that one yet.
All right.
But there was something on there up at the top, I thought.
See you soon, Z. Take
I don't
care.
know.
Should I? Oh, wait. Let's see. Can I send anybody anywhere? Let's see. Where should I send everybody? Oh, here. I'll send everybody over to Rando. How about we do that? Let's do that. I think I can just do it like that. Doink. Okay, so I'm rating Rando Taka, and I'll see you all tomorrow. You want to say bye real quick?
Good night, ohmTown citizens, and we will see you tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Bye-bye, everybody.